obviously you're looking at differentials, but what started this is that I'm doing a 5 lug swap to the NK RPF1s, one of the best wheels you can get. I would say that would work for this vehicle. You can get them almost close to stock specifications. Yeah, so after looking for years, like what would be a good lightweight wheel to go with, it's a no-brainer. But anyway, so obviously I'm doing a 5 lug swap. I have to remove the hubs, and I was like, you know what? I've had this 3.91 for a long time, sitting in storage, and maybe it's a good time to put it in too, since I'm pulling out the axles and whatnot. And one of the things that I've done to it many months ago is that as soon as I got it, I removed the stock vent completely, not just the top, and I installed the brass fitting because I believe that the tiny area that is left from the vent, the GM tells you remove the top and clamp a hose to this. When I did this 6 years ago, I didn't feel good about it, but it was the only thing that could be done. So I just sent it. And I would say it held on for a long time, but I think in the past few months, what happened is it finally disconnected after 6 years, and it started to coat the top of the differential with this beautiful coating. So yeah, I'm glad I'm doing this right now. It's now or never. And what I did is that I took a brass fitting and I machined the threads off slowly until I got a nice interference fit that I could basically shove it in there, and this thing is going nowhere. And that's way more area to put a hose down and clamp it if you want versus this. So that's a little tip of the day for you, is if you have your differential out, definitely do that. I don't think I've gone too long here. I don't think there's anything that interferes here, but if there is, I might be able to shorten it. We'll see when I put it up in the car. But yeah, that's the tip for you. And obviously, this is a 3.91 differential, so it doesn't have the V1 flange. That's going to have to move over there. I have my adapter for the CTSM Driveshaft. That as well is going to have to go with the flange. And I have my differential brace that has served the car very nicely. I'm going to have to move that over as well. And I also have the experimental fourth mount for this brace that I made like probably a year ago, just as a proof of concept. And it turns out, you know what, it just works great. So I'm keeping it as is. I'm moving it over. So yeah, just a little sneak peek there. I think between lighter wheels, I think those wheels are like something like close to 9 pounds lighter than the V1 wheels. I love the V1 wheels, but now I think it's time for something lighter and better. I'm expecting it to be able to brake better, corner better, accelerate better, especially with a 3.91 versus 3.73. That's going to make a tiny bit of a difference too. Every little bit helps, especially since I'm not really into supercharging the V1. I just really like the naturally aspirated simplicity of this car. I would like to keep it that way, but every little bit helps, I guess. So, all right, well, that's it. So we'll see how this goes. While I'm doing that, I obviously took out the new OEM bushing to put in obviously a Creative Steel bushing. Now, for some reason, after I put it in, there was just some play that I feel inside this unit that I just didn't feel good about. So I sent a video to Creative Steel. I'm sure they will take care of my concern. But unfortunately, until I get something from them, don't have anything to put in this differential to put on the car, right? So this is a replacement for the rear differential bushings. It's not exactly the same as the front bushing, but then again, it's way sturdier than the OEM front bushing. You could see the front OEM bushing has a air gap in it and definitely more compliant, but this one is solid throughout. And I just wanted, for the sake of science, really to play with this and say, you know what would it take to put this in the differential? You know, well, I've done the measurements, and I can tell you the outer diameter of this is almost identical to the OEM bushing and the CS. There's negligible amount of difference between them, so both of them would be a press fit into the differential. The major difference is the rear bushing is about 6 millimeters deeper That's it. Otherwise, both of them are designed to use the same bushing bolt for either the front or the back. They're both designed to use the same bolt. So really, the difference comes down to the height and also the outer rim. I'm not sure if this will be a big factor, but it's kind of tight there on the lip of the differential. Right, and here's the finished product. After a few minutes of machining, we have the same total height. See here, it's almost, if there's any difference, it's negligible really. And the bottom has been machined as well. Not perfectly, but reasonably enough. And the outer diameter is spot on. This one is from Performance Tool. It was for a good deal, W154. So let's see what we can do with this. I'm going to try to do this with one hand. I have my Milwaukee M12, full charge and full reverse. There we go, mission accomplished. Okay, so I have my puller on the flange. This is an old harmonic bouncer puller kit that I have, but the principle is the same. It should work. You can see that shaft is come in handy already with being able to center the center bolt on it. 3 bolts with nuts on the back there, so should be a simple matter as putting a wrench on here and ease into it just in case something goes sideways, and we'll see how it goes. So that was not so bad. I was basically just holding this by hand, and I had a 19mm socket and ratchet on here, and now it's so easy. I only have to hold it, but you can see we're separating. Let's get a light on the splines. There you can see we're moving. So yeah, that wasn't so bad at all. Now let me just pull it out. There you have it. The flange was able to pull out very quickly. You could see I had marked the threads that were exposed after exposed due to the nut being seated in the proper location. So it kind of lets me know that once I put the V1 flange on, I should be able to expect at least that many threads to be exposed after we're tightened to spec, but that was just for visual reference. So this is a brand new OEM differential, new old stock so to speak, but yeah, see it looks in good shape. You could see there behind it, sorry, I'm not paying attention to the focus. You could see the pinion bearing there lurking in the background. So I'm actually not going to reuse my old V1 flange. I remembered that in my stash I have a brand new flange, so that way it'll just make it easier for moving the differential to another owner, that they don't have to go look for a flange for some reason. Okay then, well, this escalated pretty quickly, as it usually is in the garage. I've done quite a few things since the last take. I've obviously installed the brace. I discovered some nuances, again, because I don't have the differential out every day. I like to keep a very close eye on all the details, and I'm glad I did, because I noticed that this brace, even though everything is shoved in the right location, you could see there's no gaps here, there's no gaps here. It's all hunky-dory. When it came down to the last two, I noticed that they were pulling the brace towards the differential case, yet not even fully pushing on the differential case, which is a problem. I don't like this. I don't know why. Maybe it's some manufacturing error, maybe it's something else, but I need to resolve it. So I measured the gap, and it's about like 2.5, give or take, millimeters of gap. So I went through my hardware stash and I found the combination that works. And you can see here, both of them have proper spacers to close that gap. So I went to 45mm bolts. If you're curious, here's part number from Hillman,
comes with 2, and that was perfect because I needed exactly 2. The other ones are fine. The other ones engage threads fully and so on, but maybe I have a unique situation. Who knows? So that's that. Obviously, as I said, keeping the 4th mount because this thing, I love this thing. Saves me so much freaking hassle. Do not be fooled by the looks of this thing. I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, this thing is flimsy, oh, one handle, anything. Nah, that's not the case. Let me actually pull it off for a second. For those who misjudged this 4th mount, do not be fooled by pictures. This is a sturdy brace. Some people thought it's just a thin piece of metal. Oh no, it's not. Look how thick this is. Yeah. You do not want to have this land on your foot. I made it in a hurry, so it doesn't look exactly perfect, but trust me, this thing can handle some force. And being a 4th mount, it doesn't really need to handle all that much force, just good enough. And it's perfect. I made it to match up this. Obviously, I would take these nuts off, put this thumb through, tighten it. It does a phenomenal job. Why? Because it allows me to mount to the bottom of the subframe, which I haven't seen a single brace do this on the market. So I just had to do it myself, and I didn't have access to big hydraulic machines and whatnot, so I just had to make bends by hand. But trust me, and even though my welds are not the best in the world, but then again, who said I'm a welder? I just needed to work. And you know what? In a year or so, never given me a single problem. There you go. Look at that solid polyurethane leaf spring pad. If it's good enough for leaf spring, it's good enough for a 4th mount. Mark my words. So U-bolts that came with this brace go through this now instead of the old piece. And actually, let me grab the old piece real quick. Here's the old piece. Nothing wrong with this at all. But anyway, the whole point of this is that it would mount like so, and it would have the U-bolts mounted to the top of the subframe. Well, that's easier said than done. If you don't have small hands, you will suffer. And then there's a brake line in the way, and really, I'm concerned about the contact it makes with the brake line. I don't think it's a good idea. Not one bit, honestly. It's a great concept because, hey, force transmitted vertically, perfect. I think this is an ideal solution. Only if the V1 had a little bit more clearance up there. It just doesn't, and it's painful. If you ever have to remove it, well, the first time I had to remove it was because it came with a very simple rubber pad, and it wore in because, as you guys know, the subframe in that spot is not exactly flat. It has this welded section which tends to put pressure more in one area than the other. So I just looked at this and I was like, you know what? I'm not exactly happy with this. That was the old way of doing it. This way is so much better. It's so easy to install and remove from the bottom of the subframe. You will do it for fun. There's that. And what else do we have going on in here? I added some RTV to the bottom of the fitting. It's a press fit. There shouldn't be any leakage of whatsoever. But, you know, I'm not going to be here every day. So, and once you bolt this up in the car, you're not seeing it again until you drop the differential. So I'm the type of guy who likes to take precautions. So I just added some RTV just in case. And I added a clamp. Again, I really doubt I need it because this was a very tight fit. This is a 5/16 inch transmission cooler hose that I had lying around. And I added a clamp to that. Again, I don't need it, but I like redundancy. Besides from that, I had to modify this brace because for some reason the differential that came on my V1 was missing this little alignment dowel. And this one has it, and the differential brace was pressing on it, so I had to make that hole, clear that dowel. Now, if I didn't pay attention and I just zipped these bolts on, I wouldn't have realized that there's a little stress point in the middle. But that's gone now. Now it clears it. Besides from that, I think we should be good to go. And there's the result. You have basically a perfect match for the OEM or CS bushing. You can see the length is the same, the OD is the same, everything's the same. And obviously it is designed to take the same exact bolt as the front bushing. So what more could you ask for? I don't think anybody has done this before, but this question has been itching in my mind for a long time. Can you modify a rear differential bushing to work in the front, and that way you end up with the same bushing in the front as in the back? And the answer is yes. Yes, definitely you can. Now, should you? Who knows? Is it stiffer than the CS bushing, or the same stiffness, or less? I don't know. It feels harder. It feels harder. This isn't your grandfather's OEM front bushing. Here's that for reference. This is not it. This has an air gap for some compliance and whatnot. This has nothing. This has just brute rubber in there. It is a very solid bushing. I can't get it to flex to save my life. Does this mean this bushing is bad? Well, I'm not a bushing scientist. I can't tell you that. I think that bushing is designed to be at a certain durometer or hardness, and maybe that's the right solution. But right now, I need a bushing to go in today, and I'm beyond that question. So the only way to find out, and this is why I did it for the sake of science, is to actually put it in the car. Let's test it, let's drive it, and let me come up with my feedback. And then I could tell you for sure if this is a good or a bad idea. Well, if it's a bad idea, then joke's on me. I've got to change this myself. But the car will be down for winter later, and I'll have time to mess with this. What else? I did not cut the shaft for the V6 or base car, the non-V. Let's say it like that. The non-V OEM driveshaft design. So that's the male pilot for those drive shafts, because they have a guibo on the back, and the guibos have this centering bushing. Actually, let me grab one. It's for this. This is a little guibo flange for you, and in an ideal world, you have a non-V car of any variety, and this would allow it to center your drive shaft. Now, why don't I cut it? Well, because my CTSM drive shaft has a bit of a different configuration than what you expect. Here's the Sonex flange that we use on the CTSM drive shaft, paired with an adapter, a billet adapter, to make it mate to the V1 flange. And there you go. You see the ample amount of clearance. And actually, I could grab a light maybe to make it more visible. But there. We are like 15 millimeters from this edge, and the U-joint is still even farther out a little bit. So yeah, this is how it would look under the car for CTSM driveshaft owners. It would look like that, and yeah, I think finally this thing is ready to go in the car. Really, I have high expectations for this setup. You know, we have everything in tip-top shape, all the bolts torqued. I even checked the OEM bolts that they are at the proper torque spec. Everything for the brace got Loctite 243 applied to it. We should be good to go. And most of all, I'm excited to have a 3.91 ratio in my car. I don't drive it long distance as much as I used to before. At that point, I kind of preferred the 3.73. Now it has a little bit more joyride activity, so I think 3.91 will be the ticket. I have the MM6 ratios in this vehicle. which is the 2.66 first gear. And I'm hoping that maybe, you know, we could now finally take off in second gear. With the stock V1 ratios, taking off in second gear is, I think, no problem. But when you have, you know, lower ratios like mine, or you need the first gear, but then, you know, first gear in this car tops off at, I'm trying to remember, 54 miles an hour. I mean, yeah, it's pretty long. So I'm hoping to be able to at least take off in second gear, and obviously when I push the go pedal, I would like to be able to accelerate faster. So anyway, let me get to installing it, and I'll update you on what happens under the car. Well, here's the differential. It is up and mounted. I have the two rear bolts tightened. The front one obviously is not. One thing I noticed, and keeping up with the theme of paying attention to details, I don't know if there seems to be a tiny gap between the mount point for the front bushing on the subframe and the bushing itself. Try to get as close as possible, but it's enough for me to slide a Home Depot ASD washer, and it fits perfectly in that gap. You know, the ears that catch the bushing will most likely, once the bolt is torqued, kind of like bend inwards a little bit, and maybe not, depends on how rigid they are. But what's the point of having a gap? Now keep in mind, I matched the depth of the CS and OEM bushings very, very closely, like probably down to the millimeter. But still there's a gap, so I wonder if that gap existed before, and if it did, then you're better off not having a gap. Why would you want a gap? You want this to be as close of a fit as possible. Luckily, I have a good assortment of washers for situations like this, and we don't want any jerkiness or play in the driveline at all. So yeah, maybe this actually benefits somebody. I don't think the differential can move really front and back or fore and aft, because obviously it's mounted with two bolts in the back pretty tightly. But at least I don't like the idea of the ears of the front bushing mount having to bend in to meet the bushing. Otherwise, bolt that they use for the rear, it's kind of excessively long. I don't remember if it gets very close to the axle or not, because I think last time I had the bolt mounted this way, but I don't like the idea of having it this way because it just ends up catching dirt or grease or whatever. I think I would like to take maybe, I don't know, like call it 7 or 8 threads off and cut it. There's just no need for it to be this long. It's very excessive. I mean, the nut will be like right here. The front diff bushing bolt is in and it's tightened, and I shortened it a tiny bit, as I was saying. Let's look at that. There you go. That makes way more sense to me. You can see there the Creative Steel diff block. People say you don't need it if you have a good diff bushing, but I just add it anyways because, why? I don't know, redundancy. I think it makes a difference. Let's see what else is happening here. So there's the fourth mount. It's in. I haven't put the pad and the U-bolts. That's next. Did not tighten the hub nut yet.
I'm probably waiting until I put the axles in and the wheels. Okay, so a little change in plan. I haven't gotten to the point of putting the wheels and tires and brakes and all that back on, but I was wondering if I could manage to torque the nut holding the flange onto the differential. And you know what? I think I've just succeeded. And I did not have the special GM tool for this because, again, you know, how often do you do this? Is it really worth the expense of buying the GM tool? But it is the weekend, and I wanted to work in the shop a little bit and make something. God knows I'm guilty of enjoying cutting and welding and drilling holes, so I made my own adapter, and you know what? It works. Let's see here. I have the torque wrench on a 36mm socket. I have a hole there to pass through the adapter. Let's get the light here, make it look better. And I'm just doing this on the floor right now. I haven't gotten a lift yet, but soon enough, getting the garage ready for it. There you can see it bolts to all, I don't know if you can see the top nuts, but it bolts to all 6 holes in the flange, threads to all of them, and there's an arm that extends down. Now originally the idea I had in mind was this bar would link up with another bar which ties to the subframe, because you don't want to move all the way to hit the gas tank. That would be no good. But I just ran out of time and patience, and so I just improvised a little bit. I thinned the bar a little bit into a piece of gas pipe that I had lying around the garage, and that just extends it all the way down to the ground. So by doing that, I was able to torque it. The torque spec is 180 foot-pounds on this, and I added some Loctite 243 for a good measure. We are good to go. This thing is torqued. I can't believe I have it torqued already. Yeah, and you can see with the construction of this adapter, I took no chances. It bolts to all 6 threaded holes. I'm not sure if the GM adapter even does that, but I haven't looked at that one in a while. But yeah, it bolts to all 6 holes, and the arm here, originally I just had it, it just bolts in, but I just wanted some added security, so I also welded that bracket onto the main adapter, so it took the 180 foot-pounds like a champ. I am not a master welder, nor a candidate for one, but I made it work.
Okay, so as I was saying, we were done with that job, torquing the Driveshaft input flange nut, the 180 pound-feet, and this is what it took. It took making this adapter. Again, I wanted to do it way before I had wheels and brakes and all that stuff. I just wanted to get it out of the way, and I had a few moments to make an adapter, so I took this piece of bracket that I had from Home Depot a while ago, piece of metal, made a template from the old diff flange, drilled the holes so an M10 by 1.5 bolt can clear it, and used an angle iron to make this little adapter here that this bar can be welded to. It's welded all around and the corners, and I trimmed it a little bit so that this black pipe that I had lying around could fit through it. And I used the 36mm socket, put it on it, extended the bar with the pipe all the way to the ground, because obviously I'm not on a lift. If I were on a lift, I could use a very long bar and that would be the end of the story, but I was not on a lift, so I wanted to be able to hold it, and there you go, it's torque. So This thing, obviously I have the bolts now on the differential, but this is how it works. See, it lines up with, eventually lines up, there we go, lines up perfectly with the holes, and you could still get the socket through. I forgot the name of the, or the model number for the GM dealer tool. I even contemplated, like, maybe I should have that on my inventory, but then I said, you know what, if it's worth paying for, then maybe it's worth me making it, since obviously it's the weekend, I'm not gonna get it any sooner, and if I order it anywhere, it's gonna probably take a week to get here. So everything takes a week to get here for some reason, except Amazon, obviously. So there you go. Now we come to installing the differential vent, and I've made this little piece to make the differential vent easily accessible and serviceable. So what I came up with is this tight hose for the intake manifold, the PCV tube. When I did my cylinder head project, I obviously replaced that tube with a fresh one because this one was pretty hard, but that also comes with an advantage. It's a pretty stiff tube, so I cut a piece from it, and I've heated it up and inserted the vent and put like an injection clamp on it, and I've heated it from the back and inserted a male-to-male barb fitting. So if we assume this is the hose under the car, close to the subframe, this would basically go into it, and then the hose would be cable tied somewhere, and if I ever need to clean the vent or check if the vent is working properly, I can twist it off from the tube and see what's going on, or put some cleaner in it and plug it back in. So that's what I came up with, and honestly I should have done this a long time ago. So okay, and I've just done the first fill on this new differential with 75W90 with included friction modifier. I've been using this specific differential oil from Royal Purple, the Max Gear synthetic, for I don't know, probably 6 years in the V1. Been very happy with it. My old differential has like something like over 145,000 miles on it, and no complaints from my end. No issue with the LSD or anything like that. I would say it's a pretty good oil. I've also, in the T56, since I had it rebuilt by RPM, I've been using for the past 6 years as well, Royal Purple Synchromax. So very good products. I would recommend for sure. So now I think we move on to installing the differential vent. So this portion will go into the tube, and then this clamp will slide over and hold them together. Okay, so to make installation easier and removal under the car, I've taken out 2 ribs from this brass fitting, especially since I will be using a clamp on top of them. So the tube that I'm using is a bit too tight for this fitting, so I can definitely get 2 ribs in, but more than that it becomes a challenge, and definitely under the car it's not the easiest thing in the world, so this will work. Okay, so we're under the car. Here's the tube coming from the differential. You could trace it all the way back to the top right here, and it's gonna route perfectly behind this exhaust hanger, like so, and I think it will get cable tied somewhere here. That should be good enough. The tube, the most important thing is the tube has a vertical rise first, so any fluid that shoots up can shoot back down, and just the gases can, or the hot air can vent out. So let me insert the vent and see how we're gonna mount this. And there's our modular vent setup. So if I ever in the future need to maintain this vent, I could just pull it from the tube, work on it, and rig it back in. And those clamps, this one holds the assembly to the tube,
and this one holds the vent to the additional part. So in the future I could just loosen this clamp, bring it down, and then pull this portion out, and you should be able to work on it off the car. And let's say I want to replace the vent or use a different type of vent, I could just do that. So I'm pretty happy with this, and now I'm gonna see how I'm gonna fix it to the body. Okay, so the vent tube has been fixed in 2 points. The first one is here above the exhaust hanger. The exhaust portion won't get in the way. And the second point is a little bit harder to see, but it's that bracket that holds the brake cable. So there's the tube coming, and you can see it's tied to it, so it's held in 2 point and it's pretty secure. And it's kind of like out of a way spot, and you have a splash shield here, so it's going to protect it from any direct water or anything like that. So I think this is as good as I can do it right now. I could do better, but this will do for the time being.